Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Cassinson. I'm the Vice President of Ambassador and Industry Partner Programs at Buildxact. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our webinar today. We have a very, very elite guest, David Pollard, who's the principal and co-founder at Liv where he's been doing design build for a number of years, and he's just dripping with awards, remodeling excellence, contractor of the year, home of the year. He's been awarded by House and Remodeling Magazine. He's also a NARI board member. He's been spending a lot of time in Chicago, but recently moved himself, his business, and his family to Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you're in the area, I would recommend you reach out to him. But he has a very important message for all of us to hear around remodeling. And as people are doing more remodeling work because they're working from home, or they're trying to build equity in their house, or they're looking for better home performance, this is just a growing area. So he has a lot of great tips and insights to share with us from his experience and his awarded experience. So thank you so much for joining us. And I will turn you over to David, one more thing. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll jump on after he's done with his presentation, and we'll run through all the questions and get them answered for you. So thanks again for joining, and welcome, David.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, let's see. I'm going to do a screen share here. Bear with me for 1 second. We're going straight into PowerPoint. All right, I think we're good to go here. So thanks for that incredible introduction. That was way too much, but I appreciate you guys being here to listen to this, and Buildxact for putting this on. We call this increasing your value by facing down common remodeling stigmas. And while I know this webinar isn't necessarily just focused on remodeling, we're going to have a lot of vendors, trades, commercial construction, a lot of different people involved with construction. I think it's valuable to come at it from my perspective of remodeling, because I think most of those stigmas are most prevalent in what we do and come out on a daily basis. But I think they apply and are relative to pretty much everyone in the construction industry. So Jennifer did already way too much of an intro, but I'll give you kind of a quick bio that I'm co-founder and co-owner of Liv Co. We're a full service and award-winning design build company based out of Chicago's western suburbs. I'm a licensed architect. I have a BArch with a minor in building construction from Virginia Tech. I also have a master's in architecture from Illinois Institute of Technology. As Jennifer mentioned, we're very award focused. I think we do some really cool projects, so we're constantly recognized for the work that we do. I've been, in the last couple of years, on a lot of podcasts, including Entree Architect Inside the Firm, Power Tips Unscripted, Per Remodelers 40 Under 40 list back when I was under 40 in 2018. And then I've been writing for Remodeling Magazine and JLC, and a repeat speaker at the Remodelers Summit. So I don't want to talk about that necessarily just to toot my own horn, but I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from is that kid with the sandcastle. This is something that's really passionate to me, and I've kind of built my career and built my education really trying to understand why construction kind of has a bad rap, and architecture is kind of, behind the curve. And I'm really just trying to figure out ways to elevate the industry, and I think we've found a lot of ways to do that in our remodeling company that I'd love to share with you guys. So our plan is, I'm hoping our purpose here is to elevate and inspire your company, your staff, and your life by reinstilling the inherent respect that I believe is due to the passion, expertise, and craft that all of us bring to the world in construction. I'm going to do that by addressing 7 common stigmas that are prevalent in the remodeling industry, as well as the construction industry, and I'm going to propose solutions to them. I'm going to do this probably in 40 minutes or less. I've got a clock here, so I don't get too long-winded, and that'll save 20 minutes at the end for Q&A, and hopefully we can cover any questions that you guys may have. And then ultimately our outcome is that everyone here who's watching live or who's going to watch this later, we kind of use this as a tool to recognize your huge value in the world in construction and leverage that in your business. So this all started with an article that I wrote a year and a half or so ago for JLC magazine, and it was called Facing Down Remodeling Stigmas. And it was a response or a retort to this article that I read in CNBC written by Sam Dogan that was really saying, don't bother remodeling. It'll cost way too much money, way more than you ever thought. It's going to take longer. Why even do it? And he laid out these 7 reasons why. And so I got, impassioned by it because I just thought that, yes, I don't want to discount the fact that these stigmas don't exist. But I want to be able to deliver the fact that that's not the entire industry. And it was really, painting our entire remodeling industry with a really broad stroke of this guy's perception after working with a couple bad general contractors along the way. So I first want to talk about what the stigma means, and that's a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. So the whole idea that we as constructors have a mark of disgrace is weird to me, because when I look at something like this, and obviously this is Manhattan looking out over Central Park, but the entire world, the entire built environment is because of what we do. Doctors don't do this. Guys in finance might be a part of it, but they can't do this. They can't climb up on that roof and build this thing. They can't envision what this can be. They can't understand and put drawings together and then convert the drawings into a built form to translate how people are going to live in the future. So it's inherently crucial and important to our world, and these stigmas are constantly attached to it. To me, is a little bit frustrating. So these 7 stigmas, I've broken into 3 buckets. So it will cost more than expected, and it will take longer than expected, really have to do with managing expectations of our clients, right? Then there's 3 more in part 2. So don't let emotions get in the way, spend within the scope of your property, and always think in percentages. Really have to do with understanding your customer and understanding human nature. And then the third part of it has to do with kind of the financial aspects of it. Beware of pricing discrimination by neighborhood and lower your expectations. The financial pieces of it and understanding your market. And really, it's possible that where you're trying to do work or trying to sell just isn't your market because it doesn't align. So to start with part 1, managing expectations. Stigma number 1, it will cost more than expected. So my question is, how do you actually define what a product or service will cost when you don't actually know what that product or service is going to be? And it happens to us all the time where we'll go and meet a client and they ask us to ballpark something, and I don't know what I'm ballparking because I don't really know what it is yet. And that has a lot to do with information parity. There are a lot of people giving ballparks or a lot of Google search terms where you can try and figure out today what a project might cost, or a client might be searching for that. And information parity is a situation in which both parties in a transaction have equal information related to the transaction. And we live in a world of information overload where if you have a question, you can search for it and find an answer. But the problem is that it's not necessarily equal information, because every situation is completely different in a construction project, but people think that there's equal information because they have access to it. So what we try and do is control the information to the point of making sure that our clients get accurate information that's actually beneficial to them. Instead of just searching how much does a second floor addition cost, we use third-party data, which in this case, we use Zonda Media's cost versus value report, which takes specific project types, describes what that scope of work is. In this case, is 22 different projects, and then puts them in a geographical center. So you can actually look up project data for specific project types, large master bathroom remodel, minor master bathroom remodel, all those different categories you can find. And then that gives our clients third-party databases to really understand information that's valuable for them versus just, Googling it or talking to somebody else about what their project may have cost. And then the second way that we do this is using historical cost data. So we've been doing this for over a decade, and yes, prices fluctuate a lot, but we do have a lot of cost data that we can pull. And we have a lot of projects that, while different, are similar in a lot of ways. So we're able to, on a sales call, talk about what they're trying to do with their tri-level, and then bring up a similar project, show it on the screen, and then talk through what the budget was to build that project. So we're using two mechanisms to help control the information flow to what's valuable for them, to really help them define their expectations for what the project will really cost. And more often than not, they're surprised. They're like, wow, I wouldn't have thought it would cost that much, because they haven't had access to, accurate data that we're able to provide them. So then in that same light, stigma number 2 is it will take longer than expected. So in the same way, how can we really define how long a service will take when we don't necessarily know what it is yet? So the way we do it is through clarity of process. So you go on our website and you see very clearly what the steps are to get someone from walking in our door to actually having a built project that they can move into. And we do that through 2 design steps. We have a feasibility design phase, and then we have a detailed design phase. Now, we have historical data that typically we're able to do feasibility designs in about 6 to 8 weeks for the range of projects that we do. And typically, our detailed design process is about 3 to 4 months for the types of projects that we do. And then our construction phase is typically 4 to 6 months. So we already know that data to help them understand what that project timeline outlay is, versus just saying, oh, I think we can start this in February. We really know how long it's going to take to achieve this. And then we say typically, because really the time range depends on 2 things. One is the future defined scope of work. So as we said, we don't really know what it is yet. So if it's a way larger project, obviously it's going to take more time to achieve that. And once we go through our process, we're able to more clearly define that. And then the other piece of it for us is our client's ability to make decisions. So we put a lot of the onus of the timeline on them, where they might have deadlines where they need to have certain things achieved. And we go backwards from there to figure out if we can achieve it. And then ultimately we say, in order for us to achieve this in our process, we're going to need you to make decisions quickly, or at least by these timelines for us to achieve this. So we're very clear on that on day one, from when they walk in our door, to understand the timeline of what it takes to achieve what they need to achieve. And then with that, internally, we have our own plan of action. So we have a workflow worksheet that we work through very routinely to understand what our capacity is to deliver projects, both in design and construction. So that is informing our ability to be able to start projects sooner or push them later based on the timelines that we have. And then the third piece of it is we need to be able to communicate these items with our clients. So in a sales meeting follow-up, we just have a simple timing bullet point email that goes out that is based on our plan of action and our workflow and our standard timing. And then it explains to them of when we're going to be able to start, and then when their possible first construction start could be. And then alongside that, as we get deeper into our detailed design process, they will see a more detailed schedule of showing where they are in the process and when our earliest construction start may be based on where we are at that date. And then, like most other professional contractors or remodelers in construction, we also run a detailed schedule. So we're able to have a plan in place to help our clients understand when the project's going to be done based on these variables that exist. So when it comes to that first kind of bucket of managing expectations, really it comes down to process and communication. So really defining that process and making it very clearly communicated to our clientele. And the check boxes for that is really the clarity of the expectations, understanding what they're expecting, and then a clarity of scope, helping them understand what is going to be delivered, clarity of contract, which would be a very clear documentation of what they have agreed for us to deliver and what we're going to deliver, in turn. And then obviously, even in design or in construction, we're going to have change orders. Things are going to happen along the way. And so defining and properly managing that process as well is crucial to that communication. And then constant communication is another huge part of it. So these projects are large and complex, a lot of moving pieces. And so we try and make sure that our clients have access to our construction team and our design team whenever they need. And we run weekly site meetings and everything else to make sure that our clients feel like they have the information they need and are able to trust us to achieve the end result that they agreed to. So then if we go into part 2, which is understanding your customer, stigma number 3 is don't let emotions get in the way. And Jennifer pointed out earlier when she saw this slide that it looked like that sign said no P. It actually says nope. So this is a before photo from a project that we did a couple years ago. And this was their hall bath on the first floor. And so it had the pocket door that was jammed in and they couldn't close it and they couldn't get it fixed. And they needed to do this big remodel. And they just had this sign on the door for a long time that said, nope, go upstairs if you like bathroom doors. So I think this kind of speaks to the human nature of what we're trying to do in our industry. And the whole not letting emotions get in the way just doesn't seem fair to what we're trying to help our clients achieve. And it does a disservice to the value that we can provide and actually helping them emotionally as well. And a good example would be, this is a before photo of a project years ago, wonderful family. This is their kitchen, very, very, very highly used, right? This is obviously the family center. We've got Legos out there. We've got markers. Their dog is over in the corner. Bit is hanging out with the pepperoni up on the counter. This is really the heart of their home. Artwork on the refrigerator and all this. Like, this is an emotional space to us. Like, this is really where it all happens. This is where the children are raised, right? And then we come in, because they're doing a major remodel and addition, we come in and we do this. We just tear all that out, right? So we have to have a sense of empathy for our families that we're working with to understand that, like, yeah, they're excited they're going to have a new kitchen, but for the next 4 months, this world that they used to live in and operate in has been just torn out and thrown in a dumpster. And it is emotional, and that may get in the way, and we need to help guide them through it. And then at the end of the day, this is that family's kitchen once it's all said and done, and it'll become the heart of the home and the heart of the family again. But to get there is an emotional process. And so this photo is from that first image that you saw with the note on the bathroom door that didn't work. And I think it speaks to that same idea that what we're doing is really trying to enrich our clients' lives and help them find peace and a place to raise their family and gather. And emotions are just going to be part of that. And we're going to try and guide them through it. So the way that we help guide them through it, one tool that we use, again, we have third-party data here. This is the Funk chart. This particular version was done by an architect, Kevin Harris. And I believe he has on here the original concept was Ann Lewis. So this really just shows the emotional roller coaster that exists for everyone involved in a remodeling project or a heavy construction project. So the owner is going to have their ups and downs. There's going to be times when things are feeling great and they're really excited. And there's going to be other times where they're just going to really be having a tough time and not feeling like this is ever going to be done or this is ever going to be to their expectations. They're questioning why they ever did it. The architect's kind of having that same emotional roller coaster. And then the contractor is trying to be pretty level-headed, but they also have emotional roller coasters. There's a lot going on. There's things that when you open them up, don't turn out the way you expected them to be, and you have to make modifications. And then you have clients who are trying to move back in, and there's a lot of different moving pieces that are going. So we use this tool to help our clients manage our clients' expectations about it's not just going to be smooth sailing. We're going to do our best, but there are going to be ups and downs. And then as a team, we can use those low points to help reinforce aspects of joy to help them maybe remember why they started doing this in the first place. You know, re-show them that photo of the door that didn't work anymore that they're never going to have to worry about again, things like that. So really with managing clients' emotions, it comes down to trust. The customer isn't always right, but the customer is also never wrong. So what that means is like they can be upset about something and we have to address that because they are legitimately upset. What they might be upset about may not be what we would consider something that is worthy of being really mad about, but they're still having those feelings and we need to address it. And so a couple of ways where we deal with this is we use honest referrals in our sales process. So instead of just handing someone a list of referrals for previous projects, we actually ask our clients to go through our website, any work that they've seen that we've done, projects that might align with what they're thinking about, let us know, and we'll actually connect them with those clients. And then I think understand if there's a backstory. Sometimes our clients have been through another bad experience that is making them behave in a way that it isn't trusting us. We had a client where the spouse came and told us, years ago, we went through a remodel project and it never got finished and we lost a bunch of money and they got totally burned. And they were nervous about that. And so once we knew that, we were able to address it and help them understand how we're going to work to make sure that they aren't going to have that situation, number one. And at that point, I even offered up my mom's phone number that if they got really upset and felt like they weren't trusting us, just call my mom and she'll yell at me on their behalf, right? So really using whatever tools you can to establish trust and help clients understand that you're on their side. And then the other piece of it today is that as a business, we're just, if not more, at risk of being burned as they are. So any professional remodeling company, any professional architect, general contractor, vendor is out there. We have, we're on the internet, we're on social media, we can be destroyed in a heartbeat. So we work really hard to make sure that our clients are feeling positive about us. Otherwise, it can be really damaging to our business. So if we get into stigma number 4, spend within the scope of your property value. This one gets a little bit personal for me because clearly you guys have already seen houses or something that are pretty important to me and spaces for living. And when folks are trying to make financial decisions to not overspend on their house, it's hard for me to say, yeah, you shouldn't spend more money on where you're going to live and raise your children. I usually think, what else in our lives that supports a basic human need actually increases in value over time. So we all spend money on lots and lots of things that get thrown away or get used for a little while, but don't actually increase in value, pretty much everything, right? So this is just a chart, and this might not be super accurate anymore just because I know car prices are so high, but historically, you drive a new car off the lot and it loses all of its value. And then, or a huge portion of its value. And over time, that just bleeds away. And we spend a lot of money on cars. They're major investments and we get loans for them. It's something that we don't have a problem spending money on and not recouping that money down the line, right? But then something like this, for whatever reason, people can get stuck in their head that, well, whatever I put into my house, I want to be able to more or less immediately get out. And that's just really hard to do, especially in today's real estate market and cost of construction and everything else. It just doesn't necessarily get you what you need, what you may need in order to achieve addressing your pain points in your home. So we just want to help clients understand that there's bigger questions than if you're going to recoup that money immediately. So I just like to use that photo of where we are putting money that we're not going to recoup, but then we're constantly questioning if we're going to put money here that we're not going to recoup. Seems disconnected to me. And then I'm sure this chart still rings true today that home price appreciation historically since 1946, home prices have appreciated above inflation. So it seems like a safer bet than a car or an expensive dinner out. So the real question that we want to ask and really help our clients understand is, how long do you plan to live in your current home? It's not, do you need to recoup the money so you can resell it immediately? It's really like, are you going to be here for 10 years? Is this your forever home? And those are places where it might be really valuable to want to invest in your home versus you're going to be there for 2 years. Like, that's legitimately what you're trying to do. Then don't spend the money. You're not going to get it back, and your life is going to be pretty miserable for a year of that, right? So we're really trying to dig into the real questions. So pretty aligned with this is stigma number 5, which is the always think in percentages. In that CNBC article, I think it was trying to apply math and algorithms and different scenarios to try and understand if it made sense to remodel. And it really speaks back to number 4, where I just think you're doing yourself a disservice, or our clients are doing themselves a disservice, and not really thinking about the value that they're trying to attain for how they're going to raise their family or how they're going to, retire and enjoy their lives if they're trying to solve it with percentages. So that speaks to solving with pain points and not luxury wants. So aligned with how long they're going to live in their home, we want to help our clients understand what is crucial to them, what is a need for them and not a want. And so years ago, I did a course with Chip Doyle, who's a Sandler sales trainer, and he sticks by this to this day, that there's only 6 reasons why people remodel, and that's it. They're embarrassed to have people over. They're lacking privacy. So that bathroom door with a note on it would be a perfect example of someone, they needed to do something, right? Even if it was just fixing the door, but they're going to need to invest in something to be able to maintain some privacy in some of their spaces in their homes. They feel isolated. You see a lot of people asking to open floor plans up. It's because, maybe dad's over in the corner, way back corner, making dinner, and then the kids are over in the front doing their homework. And then, grandma is over in the basement and everyone's disconnected, and they need to have better interaction with each other. They're all compartmentalized. Cramped and cluttered. This is a pretty common one that we see, where there's just not enough space. Their house was, designed and built 100 years ago, and it wasn't built for how we live today, and they need more space. Their family is growing and they are in a small starter home and they need to expand up, or their parents are moving in with them. We see a lot of cramped and cluttered happen in these older homes. It's something that has to be solved. And then broken promises. This is the old one where you bought a house, or a client's bought a house and said, hey, this could be great if we fix it up. And then 10 years later, they still haven't done anything. And so year after year, they say, we really need to do something. We really need to do something. And so we try and talk to them about what kept them from pursuing the project, right? Let's go back to why you initially purchased this house or had these plans to do stuff and what happened, and help you solve that. And then feel unsafe. Obviously, anytime someone feels unsafe in their home, they're going to want to invest in improving that for their family. So again, these are all about needs and not wants. And as soon as our industry kind of shifts their mindset to recognizing that we're solving pain and things that people need versus being, a luxury automobile, I think that we'll continue to have more and more impact. So part 3 has to do with defining your market. And stigma number 6 is beware of pricing discrimination by neighborhood. And I think what he was referring to here is, there was an old Cosby Show episode where Cliff Huxtable went to buy a car and he had to dress like dress really poorly and didn't want anyone to know that he was a doctor because he was going to get a better deal if he, looked like he was a poor person. And I think that doesn't really necessarily apply to our industry, because our neighborhoods are going to be very market specific. And it's not that we're charging more in one neighborhood versus another one. It's that we're working really hard and have historic data to understand the expectation level in one neighborhood versus another one. So it's more important to understand what the expectation for specification, quality, and service is than it is to just simply say, well, this neighborhood, I'm going to charge more money. And I don't know why this would be a remodeling stigma, because the rest of the world operates with different markets, right? It's BMW clearly is going to be a higher sale price and provide a different experience and a different automobile experience, sales experience, service experience than buying a Yugo. Same thing if you go stay at a Ritz-Carlton versus a Holiday Inn. They're two completely different markets that are serving two completely different purposes. Ruth's Chris versus Outback Steakhouse. Pretty much everything that you see in the world, there's going to be multiple tiers of services that are set up for different markets. And it really comes down to that stigma is treating our industry as a commodity, right? Where it's all apples to apples. But in reality, no two companies are created equal. You're not a commodity. No remodeling company is a commodity. No professional remodeling company is a commodity as far as I'm concerned. For any of the vendors out there listening, you are in no way a commodity. Even if you're a lumber yard, we work with a lot of different lumber yards, and we want to work with the one that's going to make sure that the order that we made is delivered accurately. And if we have extra stuff, is going to pick it up, or help us understand what we're not on, what we're missing, in our lumber list, things of that nature. So really, everyone in the construction industry, I believe in what we work in, and where we find value is from other trades, vendors, subcontractors, everyone working that's providing service value to us because they're experts in their piece. And so we need their expertise as part of our operation as well. So a commodity would be a basic good used in commerce that is interchangeable with other goods of the same type. I just said none of us are commodities, so we shouldn't bid and price our services like we are, right? And then stigma number 7 is lower your expectations. So this one was kind of, shot in the heart when I read this. He said, unfortunately, no matter how optimistic you are about home remodeling, you'll likely have a miserable experience. Again, a very broad brush, because my argument is that, we have 33 5-star Google reviews. Our peers and our colleagues, throughout the country, they're out there and they don't have too many people talking about what a miserable experience it is. So I think it's worth addressing all of these solutions to help eliminate the other stigmas that exist and elevate your company to a professional level. And then this quote, unfortunately, no matter how optimistic you are about home remodeling, you'll likely have a miserable experience, should go away, and we shouldn't ever hear it ever again. And I went a little bit fast. We have a little bit more time for Q&A, but I want to say thank you guys. I hope that applied to all industries coming from a remodeling perspective. Feel free to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Liv_Companies. Feel free to reach out to me directly via email, dpollard@livcompanies.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. That was just jam-packed with great information. Thank you so much. And just to our registered attendees, please add your questions in the chat. I want to kick us off with a couple questions, and thank you for letting everyone know that I thought it said no P. That's hilarious. The smart day for me.
Yeah, sorry to call you out on that. It was right. I looked at him like, it does say no P.
So we have some of these performance sustainability initiatives, coming up with the Inflation Reduction Act. How are you thinking about that, and how are you getting in front of consumers to educate them on what the opportunities are, what the rebates might be, and taking advantage of that as an opportunity to grow your business?
Yeah, I think it speaks to all of those communication facets that exist in those stigmas, right? So we're hired as a service provider to guide clients from conception into actually delivering their house. So we kind of bring it upon ourselves to constantly propose any opportunities that would arise throughout the process. And we deal with it a lot in Chicago, right? Because we have lead water service lines that the state is sending funding that's talking about replacing. So I think it's up to us as experts and professionals to continue to research this and then bring it to the table while we're working with clients. Honestly, like from our perspective, that's how we operate best until we fully understand it, and kind of talking about historic data and third-party data and what we're trying to do. We're usually pretty careful to put stuff out there that we haven't tested yet. So as we start to understand it a little bit more, it could more come into the forefront of our sales process as well, and our marketing presence, for sure.
That's great. Another question I had was, when I did your introduction, I talked about how you're just like dripping with awards. How do you put yourself in a position to get those awards? Are you submitting for the awards, or is it by the consumers that you're servicing? Tell us a little bit more about how that works.
Great question. No, we kind of proactively seek them out. And I think back when we first started, we felt like it was like a little bit egotistical to try and win awards and things like that. But as our team built up, we realized that it really wasn't about us. It was about our team and what our company was providing to the world. And then our clients were really excited about them too. So we mostly do a lot of NARI awards. That's probably like our biggest place. And then we'll submit for some pro remodeler stuff, some AIA, local AIA stuff. But yeah, we kind of actively seek them out. And then Sarah, who's our design director, packages those together. And with that, I think the reason we win a lot is I think we have cool projects. And I think that's a piece of it. But I think really it comes down to the story that we're telling, which is a lot of what you saw in that presentation, which is really solving people's pain points and solving their problems and delivering it through a built solution, right? So it's really about the story of how we got there versus just, hey, that living room is cooler than this living room, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of the award programs that I've seen is some of them have an entry fee as well. So you have to just kind of understand or kind of calculate beforehand what the ROI would be and how you're going to invest in promoting it as well. So certainly helps your brand, but how much are you using it to help your brand? So tell us a little bit more about some of the other mechanisms you use to get the word out about your services.
So our kind of biggest marketing spend kind of in the background is we do a lot of SEO work for sure. So we're trying to make sure that people who are looking for someone like us in a crowded market like Chicago that Google's able to actually connect them with us. So SEO would be search engine optimization. And that's something that kind of exists in the background that we don't understand and most business owners don't understand, which is what we pay the professionals to do. And Google wants to be able to connect people in search with what they're looking for, right? But people might not know what they're looking for because they might not know it exists. So Google's doing all that back-end work to connect the dots. So that's a big part of what we do in the background. And then we've had a lot of fun over the years, just kind of putting out our quirkiness, I think, a little bit, which especially during COVID and the shutdown, we kind of felt a little bit liberated and free to make funny videos and things of that nature. So we had, a Zoom where we had a company Zoom and it's 9 of us on there. So it kind of looked like the Brady Bunch. So we did a Brady Bunch video about that, We've done some kind of fun stuff where I'll go and visit a site, a project site, and kind of cut a video together and talk about how we solved the problem there. So we've done a lot with content and kind of fun content on that front. And then most importantly, I think from day one, we've always had professional photographer do our content creation. And so Matt, our current photographer, is just awesome. And he does project photos, but also he'll come out with us for half a day and kind of follow us around. So, before we can really talk about what we do, we really needed to make sure that we had really good content to tell that story and it all really aligned, right? So we'll do that through social media, and our website, and always looking for new fun places to do it.
I love that. That's great. So I don't have any other questions. I want to open it up to the audience, and I've been hogging your time. So anybody else have any questions before we let David off the hook?
I like Luke said it was a fire hose.
One of the best fire hose. Don't skip the best part. Best fire hoses of information he's ever had. So thank you, Luke, for joining. Thank you, everybody else, for joining. David did share his information, so you can follow up with him directly. But thanks again, David.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.